other shows we have for you to enjoy at myclassicradio.net. The Avengers was most certainly not a household name in South Africa prior to the radio series. With no national television service until 1976, the mechanism simply was not present in the country to show television programs to mass audiences. While many other countries reveled in the filmed adventures of John Steed and Company, South Africa was not equipped to join in the fun. The series took Britain by storm and made a major impression in the American markets, being that greatest of rarities, a British series given a network transmission slot. However, as a filmed series, rather than a videotaped one, The Avengers was able to gain a modicum of exposure in South Africa through film rentals. Come and listen at myclassicradio.net.
Calling all detectives. A murdered puppeteer, a missing marionette, and a play that was changed during performance. Those are the exhibits on this page from my casebook. The casebook of Jerry Browning, private detective. A private detective like me, Jerry Browning, is always afraid of an easy case. Generally, there are too many strings attached to it. The backstage of Martinis Marionette Theater was deserted, except for 7 cops, the coroner, 6 newspaper men, and a handful of photographers. I joined Lieutenant Dawson of the homicide squad alongside the body of the murdered man. Giuseppe Martini lay sprawled behind the wooden frame that served as a stage for his marionette performances. From his lifeless hands dangled several wooden strips with a mass of strings leading to a bunch of wooden dolls. Dawson turned to me.
Jerry, for once we've got music keys. Martini was rehearsing when he was shot. All we got to do is ask the watchman who was out front during the rehearsal, and we've got the killer.
The watchman walked up to us.
I don't know nothing, mister. I heard the shot, figured it was part of the show. Anyway, nobody was in the theater.
My fingers played with the twisted cords wrapped around Martini's fingers. I began untangling them. Kept at it until I had all the cords straightened. Then, hey, Dawson, come here a second. Dawson, there are 5 marionettes here, but Martini is holding the strings for 6. Before you find your missing murderer, I think you'll have to find a missing marionette. When I straightened the strings, entangling the body of a dead puppeteer, I discovered that 1 marionette was missing. Dawson, I think I'll try to find out something about marionettes. I drove to Southern Lane and walked into a shop that looked like an illustration for Pinocchio. An old woodcarver was sitting on a bench surrounded by marionettes of all sizes and character. Mr. Sato, I understand you're the best marionette maker in the business. Sato bowed.
If you will, tell me what you require.
Just a little information about marionettes.
Marionettes are as old as civilization, sir. From Italy comes the name. So lifelike with the dogs, people call them Little Maries, marionettes.
Warming to his subject, the little man told me that the Italian marionette clown, Punchinello, was the great-grandfather of the English character, Punch. After a while, I stopped the flow of words. Mr. Sato, I wonder if you could tell me who are the most outstanding marionette showmen in town. Sato wrote down 3 names. The name of Giuseppe Martini was not on the list. I drove to the first address, the Empire Theater, asked for Henry Gordon, went to his dressing room. I suppose you've heard about Martini being killed? Gordon nodded, and I went on. I'd like to know something about a certain kind of act Martini did, with 6 marionettes. Gordon shrugged.
Sorry, I'm a modernist. Don't do that classic routine stuff. My dolls ride bikes, smoke cigars, play the piano, all trick stuff. So why don't you go see Professor Pollina?
Well, yeah, it was a 3rd name on my list. I tried a long shot with the 2nd name. How about Jojo Whitten? Gordon's face turned red.
That's phony. Calls himself a modernist like me. Me, the great Gordon. The only thing modern about Whitten is the way he racketeers, trading on my reputation.
I left Gordon still burning and headed for an interview with Jojo Whitten. I found him in a rooming house. Whitten's rage topped Gordon's. What that hand's doing stunts I've forgotten. I'm sorry, Mr. Browning. I know you're not interested in this kind of marionette showmanship. When it comes to that classical stuff, your man is Professor Boyena, greatest showman of them all. Another theater, another dressing room. Professor Boyena wasn't due until 7 o'clock, so I spent the next 40 minutes with a book, reading standard marionette comedies translated from Italian to English, and found the one Martini must have been rehearsing. Then, Boyena made a grand entrance, flung his arms wide.
Ah, my friend, good evening, good evening. Gladly will I give you my autograph.
I thanked him, mentioned that I'd heard he was an authority on classic marionette drama. Boyena struck a pose.
Oh, the world's stage, Shakespeare. Did you know Shakespeare loved the marionettes? His Midsummer Night's Dream and Julius Caesar were written expressly for marionettes.
I thought, here we go again. So I cut through the lecture with, Professor, have you heard that Martini was killed? The professor bowed his head.
Alas, the world has lost the greatest showman of them all.
It was a familiar phrase. The same one Jojo Whitten had used about Professor Boyena. You can help me, Professor. When he died, Martini was rehearsing. I've done some checking and think he was rehearsing the classic play called Heart of Harlequin. If you would do it for me, it might help me understand what happened.
Without properties or background, that is difficult, but to help Martini, I cannot refuse.
He opened the trunk, started taking out marionettes.
Here is a happy Harlequin, a pretty Colombine, the brave Captain, Punchinello, Scapir, and Silly Pantaloon.
There were 6 marionettes. 5 exactly like those belonging to the dead Martini. The 6th, the one missing from Martini's collection, was Pantaloon. The professor arranged the springs and began to manipulate the dolls, speaking as Pantaloon.
I, Pantaloon, can do everything. Eat, drink, sleep. The only fault I have is that I do not like work. I am not a thief. I am a clever mathematician who finds things before the masters lose them.
I waited for Punchinello to beat up Pantaloon, but he never did. Finally, the performance ended with Pantaloon strutting off stage.
How do you like it, Mr. Browning?
I like it fine. Professor Boyena, you're under arrest for murder. He confessed, finally.
Martini stole my act, copied my marionettes, so I killed him with the marionette.
That's exactly what he'd done. Substituted a new head for Martini's Pantaloon and loaded it with a mechanism that would fire a bullet straight up at Martini just when Punchinello beat Pantaloon over the head. The explosion blew the marionette to bits. In his own performance, for me, the professor changed the story of the play and let Pantaloon escape the beating that might have aroused my suspicions. What the professor didn't know was that I was suspicious anyway because of his unprofessional lack of jealousy when I asked him about Martini. Like I said, there is such a thing as a simple case, but only when you catch the criminal in his act.